It was a Saturday morning like any other. The smell of coffee, sunlight streaming through the blinds, my cat curled at my feet. I was halfway through the paper when a knock came at the door. When I opened it, 2 police officers were standing on my porch. The sight made my stomach drop. "Mrs. Harris?" one of them asked. "We need to ask you a few questions regarding a theft report filed last night." I blinked. "A what?" They exchanged a look. "Your daughter-in-law, Mrs. Claire Harris, reported that several items were missing from her home. Jewelry, cash, and some personal documents. She mentioned that you were at the house earlier that day." For a moment I couldn't breathe. "You think I took them?" The officer hesitated. "We're just following up, ma'am. Would you mind coming down to the station to answer a few questions?" I felt heat rush to my face. Not anger, not fear. Shock. Claire had really done it. She'd finally crossed the line. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just grabbed my coat, nodded and said, "Of course, officers, let's go." Because part of me needed to see, to know, just how far she was willing to go with her lies. At the station, they asked me the usual questions. Where had I been that night? Had I been alone? Did I have any reason to take anything from my son's house? I answered calmly, truthfully. I haven't taken a thing that doesn't belong to me. And if you search my house, you won't find any of hers. When the questioning ended, one of the officers sighed softly. "Honestly, ma'am, something about this doesn't add up, but we still have to file the report." I nodded, giving a tired smile. "You're doing your job." When I got home that night, my phone lit up with a text from Claire. "I'm so sorry things had to go this far, Mary. I just didn't know what else to do." My hands tightened around the phone. She wasn't just accusing me. She was playing innocent while doing it. I sat down, heart pounding, and decided something right then. If she wanted to see what I'd do when pushed, I'd show her. But I wouldn't yell or beg or explain. I'd let her dig her own hole, one lie at a time, and when she was standing at the bottom, I'd make sure she saw exactly who put her there. By Monday morning, the rumor had already started to spread. At church, whispers followed me down the aisle. At the grocery store, 2 women from the neighborhood pretended not to stare when I passed by. Claire had made sure of it. I found out from my friend Susan, who worked with one of Claire's cousins. "Mary," she said carefully, "people are saying you stole a diamond bracelet from your daughter-in-law, that you pawned it." I laughed, a small, hollow sound. "Pawned it? I don't even wear jewelry." But Susan's face told me it wasn't funny. Claire had built the story well, just believable enough to ruin me in silence. That night Alex came over. My son. The man I raised, to be fair, level-headed. He stood in the doorway like a stranger, his expression guarded. "Mom," he said quietly, "we need to talk." I motioned for him to sit, but he didn't. "Claire's been really upset," he continued. "She says you were the last person in the house before she noticed the jewelry missing. The police haven't cleared you yet." My heart thudded. "You think I did it?" He looked down. "I don't want to believe it, but what?" I snapped. "She cries and suddenly that's proof?" He ran a hand through his hair, sighing. "You don't understand, Mom. She's been a mess since the report. She said she found one of your scarves near the dresser." I blinked. "My scarf? I haven't worn one of those in months." That was when I realized she was planting things. She'd gone back into her own house and staged evidence. I felt anger rise, but I pushed it down. I needed to think, not explode. "Alex," I said, my voice calm but deliberate, "do me one favor. Let the police handle it. Don't protect her. Just watch what happens." He frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means," I said, meeting his eyes, "if she's lying, she'll slip. People like that always do." After he left, I sat alone in the quiet. My coffee had gone cold. The smell of rain drifted through the cracked window. I replayed every word, every glance, every detail from that day at their house, and something clicked. When I'd stopped by to drop off Emma's birthday gift, Claire had been flustered, rushing to hide a shopping bag on the counter, a jewelry store bag. That was the day before the bracelet supposedly went missing. I smiled, just a small, tired smile, and opened my laptop. If she thought she could outsmart me, she had no idea who she was dealing with. By the time I shut it, I had a plan. If Claire wanted a show, I'd give her one, and I'd let the police write the ending for me. I spent the next few days playing my part. Quiet, polite, predictable. I went to my volunteer shift at the library, took my usual morning walk, and made sure that anyone who might have heard Claire's story saw me acting calm and steady. People remember calm. Meanwhile, I started digging. I called the jewelry store printed on that shopping bag I'd seen in her kitchen. The clerk, a young man named Tyler, sounded uncertain when I asked about a diamond bracelet. "I can't give details over the phone," he said, "but if you come in, I can check our system." I thanked him and drove there the next morning. The shop smelled like new wood and perfume. Tyler looked up from behind the counter. "You said you're Mary Harris?" "Yes," I said evenly. "I think someone used my name in a purchase recently." He typed for a moment, then turned the screen slightly. "We did have a Mary Harris purchase a bracelet 2 weeks ago. Paid in cash. Same address as your son's, though." Bingo. I smiled politely. "Could you print that receipt for me?" "I'm afraid I can't. Privacy laws, but I can give you a copy of the purchase details," he said. "It shows the transaction number, date, and the initials of the salesperson who handled it." "That's perfect," I said. By the time I got home, I had everything I needed to set the trap. That evening, Alex called. "Mom, the police might want to question you again." "Good," I said simply. "Tell them I'll come by tomorrow morning." When I arrived at the station, I didn't come empty-handed. I placed the document from the jewelry store on the desk in front of the officer who'd interviewed me before. "Before we talk," I said, "I think you'll want to see this." He read the printout, eyebrows rising. "This shows the jewelry was bought under your name?" "Yes," I said, "but the address belongs to my son, which means whoever bought that bracelet had access to his mail and wanted to make sure my name was tied to the purchase." The officer nodded slowly. "You think your daughter-in-law might have staged this?" "I don't think," I said. "I know, but I also think you'll need proof, which is why I'd like your help setting up a camera." He leaned back, considering. "A camera? Yes. If she's willing to lie to the police, she'll make another mistake soon. I just need her to think she's winning." He exchanged a look with his partner, then said quietly, "We can't set up a sting on private property unless a crime is actively being committed." I smiled faintly. Then maybe it's time she committed one again. By the time I left the station, the plan was forming clearly in my mind. I'd let Claire believe I was desperate, scared, maybe even guilty. I'd let her see me crack, because people like her. They can't resist twisting the knife once they think you've broken. And when she tried, I'd be waiting with the truth already recording. The next time I saw Claire, I made sure she thought she was winning. She and Alex came by on Sunday afternoon with Emma, pretending everything was normal. I greeted them warmly, almost timidly, like a woman who'd been worn down by suspicion and shame. Claire smiled sweetly, her eyes bright with quiet triumph. "It's good to see you, Mary. I hope things have calmed down." "Oh," I said, forcing a shaky laugh. "I'm just glad it's almost over. The police said they might clear things up soon." She tilted her head, pretending concern. "Really? That's wonderful." But her eyes flickered just for a second, nervous, searching. I caught it. We had coffee in the living room, Emma playing on the floor. When Claire excused herself to use the restroom, I felt my pulse quicken. I knew what she was doing. She wasn't going to the bathroom. She was looking for something to find. What she didn't know was that I'd placed a small motion-triggered camera in the hallway cabinet earlier that morning, hidden behind an old vase. 5 minutes passed, then 10. I heard a faint shuffle, the sound of drawers sliding. When she returned, she looked calm again, sipping her coffee as if nothing had happened. They left an hour later. That evening I checked the camera. My hands trembled as I scrubbed through the footage. And then, there it was. Claire, creeping out of the hallway, looking over her shoulder. She opened the drawer of my hall table, pulled out a gold necklace, one I'd inherited from my mother, and slipped it into her purse. I sat back, the air rushing out of my lungs. She'd done it again. The next morning I called the officer handling my case. "I have something you should see," I said. That afternoon I drove to the station, camera in hand. The officers watched the footage in silence. One of them shook his head slowly. She planted this, didn't she? Probably planning to find it later. I nodded. And tell my son she discovered the stolen jewelry here. You can imagine how believable it would have sounded. The officer leaned forward. Would you be willing to let us confront her with this? Not yet, I said. I want to see how far she'll go first. He frowned. You're sure about that? Absolutely. She needs to believe she's unstoppable. He sighed but agreed. Fine. But if it escalates, you call us immediately. That night I got a text from Claire. Alex and I found something strange today. I'll explain tomorrow. My heart pounded, but I smiled to myself. She was walking right into it. By morning, I'd already called the officer and told him to be ready. When the knock came that afternoon, I opened the door to find Claire standing there, holding my necklace in a plastic bag. Alex looked uneasy behind her. Mom, she said sweetly, we found this in your hallway. It looks like the one you said went missing. Isn't that strange? I glanced at the necklace, then at her. My voice was calm, very strange, because I already knew the next knock at my door wouldn't be her. It would be the police. And this time, they'd be coming for her. The next morning came with gray skies and the kind of heavy stillness that feels like the world is holding its breath. I was sitting at the kitchen table when the knock came. Not the light, uncertain kind of a visitor, but firm and official. When I opened the door, 2 officers stood there, the same ones who'd questioned me before. Behind them at the curb was Alex's car. He was pacing beside it, confusion written all over his face. Mrs. Harris, one officer said politely, we'd like to come in and follow up on the matter regarding the alleged stolen property. I stepped aside. Of course. They walked into the living room where the air still carried the faint smell of yesterday's coffee. I sat down, hands folded. You'll find what you're looking for in the drawer by the hallway, I said evenly. The officer nodded. He opened the drawer, examined it briefly, then looked back at me. Yes, Mom. We've already reviewed your footage. You did the right thing by contacting us. Claire's voice came from the doorway. What footage? She was standing behind Alex, pale, her fingers twisting around each other. The officer turned. The footage of you entering this house yesterday and removing Mrs. Harris's necklace from that very drawer. Claire's mouth fell open. That's not true. I was just picking it up because I saw it on the floor. The second officer, the one who rarely spoke, said quietly, You placed it in your purse, Mrs. Harris. Not exactly standard behavior for finding something on the floor. Alex's gaze snapped to her. Claire? Her voice cracked. I was trying to help. I thought maybe if I found the missing jewelry, it would prove your mom wasn't guilty. By sneaking into her house and planting it? He shot back. She opened her mouth again, but nothing came out. The lead officer sighed. Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us for questioning. You're not under arrest at this time, but you are a person of interest. Her face went white. Alex, say something. He didn't move. He just stepped back, shaking his head slowly, heartbreak carved deep into his features. I think you've said enough, he whispered. As the officers guided her towards the door, I stood still, watching. My heart was pounding, but my voice stayed calm. Take your time, I said softly. The truth always deserves company. Claire froze in the doorway, her eyes flicking to mine, a flash of fury and humiliation all tangled together. Then she turned and walked out, the officers following close behind. When the door closed, Alex sank into a chair, burying his face in his hands. Mom, he said quietly, I can't believe it. I almost let her destroy you. I sat beside him, resting a hand on his shoulder. You saw what you needed to see. That's what matters. He nodded, still stunned. What are you going to do now? I looked out the window, where the police car was pulling away. The rain had started, gentle and steady. Now? I said softly. Now I'm going to make some tea. He gave a small, broken laugh through his tears. You're something else, Mom. I smiled faintly. No, sweetheart. I just learned that when people want to bury you in lies, the best thing you can do is hand them the shovel. The rain didn't stop all day. It pattered against the kitchen window while the kettle whistled, and the scent of black tea filled the air. I poured 2 cups, one for Alex, one for me, and we sat at the table where the whole nightmare had begun. He hadn't said much since the officers left. His eyes looked older somehow, heavier. Finally he spoke. She called me from the station. She said she's sorry, that she just panicked. Panicked? I asked quietly. That's one word for what she did. He nodded, staring into his cup. They're keeping her overnight for questioning. She admitted to making the report and using your name on the jewelry purchase. She thought if it looked like you were guilty of something, people would stop believing you about other things. My stomach turned. Other things? He exhaled. She told me she'd lied before. Little things. Said you criticized her. Said you made her feel unwelcome. She said she wanted me to choose her over you. I looked at him for a long time. And did you? His eyes met mine, and the guilt in them was answer enough. After a moment, I said softly, I don't blame you, Alex. You trusted your wife. You were supposed to. He swallowed hard. I should have trusted you too. We sat there in silence. The rain eased, then stopped. Outside, a single shaft of sunlight pushed through the clouds, landing across the table between us. By the next week, things had settled. The charges against me were dropped completely, and the report was rewritten. Theft accusation proven false, investigation redirected. Claire's reputation, though, didn't recover so easily. Her job found out about the false report, and she had to take a leave of absence. She and Alex separated quietly. No drama, no shouting. Just distance. The kind that grows when truth finally fills the space lies used to occupy. A month later, Alex and Emma came to stay for a few days. Emma ran into my arms like nothing had happened, sticky from chocolate and laughter. Grandma, she said, Daddy says you're the bravest person ever. I smiled, brushing her hair back. He says that because he doesn't know how scared I was. Alex stood behind her, smiling faintly. You didn't look scared. I was, I said. But sometimes you have to let people underestimate you. It's the only way they show who they really are. That night, after Emma was asleep and the house was quiet again, I stepped out onto the porch. The air was cool, carrying that clean smell that only comes after rain. I thought about everything. The lies, the humiliation, the strength it took not to break. I'd been framed. I'd been doubted. But in the end, I'd done something far more powerful than defend myself. I'd let the truth do the talking. And when it finally spoke, it didn't whisper. It roared. I looked up at the stars and took a deep, steady breath. The sky was clear now. The storm had passed, and so had she.